What did we lose when we lost the night? What if I told you that the 8-hour, continuous, solid block of sleep we take for granted today never actually existed in human history? What if science is proving that our brains are programmed to experience the night in a completely different way and that we've effectively erased that program in just 150 years? Hard to believe, isn't it? But how? How could a 300,000-year-old biological legacy vanish without anyone noticing? And what if sleep isn't the only thing we lost? In this video, we're going to talk about a staggering reality one brought to light by a historian's 16-year archival deep dive, a psychiatrist's pitch-black laboratory, and an anthropologist's field recordings from around a desert campfire. If these kinds of deep inquiries fascinate you, go ahead and subscribe and hit that notification bell. Because what I'm about to tell you is going to fundamentally change everything you thought you knew about sleep and the night. First, we have to go into the darkness. The real darkness. South Africa. A cave. Roughly 1 million years ago. Inside, a glowing ember casts flickering shadows against the walls. Our ancestors did this. And that ember didn't just keep them warm. It invented something that didn't exist until that moment. Time that made the night livable. An expert looking at that scene might say, it's just fire. It didn't change our biology. Except it did. And to understand how, we need to follow what happened inside that cave second by second. And here's the truly shocking part. When you lit a fire, you weren't just getting heat. Before the mastery of fire, your ancestors' world shut down at sunset. Predators see perfectly in the dark. You don't. Movement meant hunting, but in the sense that you were the prey. You'd climb a tree, stay motionless, and wait for dawn. Day was 10 to 12 hours. Night was a void. Then came fire. A safety circle of about 30 feet. Predators wouldn't cross that line. Outside was still dangerous even today. Some hunter-gatherer groups face predator attacks the moment a fire goes out. But inside, there was something new: extra hours. 2, sometimes 4 hours added to every single day. And in those hours, people weren't sleeping. Actually, the truth was quite the opposite. Here's the breakdown. In 2014, anthropologist Polly Wiesner spent years recording and analyzing the conversations of the Jew/Hoansi people in the Kalahari Desert. The findings were startlingly clear. During the day, over 80% of conversations were practical. Who's hunting where? Which plants are ripe? Complaints or trade negotiations. Daytime talk was work. But when the fire was lit, everything changed. 81% of nighttime conversations turned into storytelling. Stories of distant people, adventures, myths about the origin of the world, and jokes that filled the tents with laughter. As Wiesner put it, the campfire was humanity's first theater, our first classroom, our first church. It was the place where we learned to imagine things that didn't yet exist. But we're not done yet, because in those nights, something else was happening. Something scientists have only discovered in the last 30 years, but historians had been overlooking for centuries. Moreover, you weren't designed to sleep the way you're sleeping right now. This isn't just a philosophical claim. In 2001, historian Roger Akirch published 16 years of archival research. Court records, prayer books, diaries, personal letters, over 500 documents dating from the 1400s to the present. And they all spoke of the same concept: first sleep and second sleep. Before the Industrial Revolution, people went to bed shortly after sunset, slept for 4 hours, and then they woke up. They stayed awake for an hour or two in the middle of the night, then went back to sleep for another 4 hours until dawn. This wasn't insomnia. This was the biological rhythm of millennia. Historians had been reading these documents for centuries, but they always translated the phrase first sleep as something else because the idea of people sleeping differently than us was unthinkable. But then, science confirmed what history had been saying. In 1992, psychiatrist Thomas Ware took a group of volunteers and completely removed artificial light. 14 hours of darkness every night for a month. Within weeks, every single participant naturally fell into the same rhythm. 4 hours of sleep, a period of quiet wakefulness, and then 4 more hours of sleep. No one told them to do it. Their bodies remembered. And during that wakeful period, Ware measured something extraordinary. The participants' brains were secreting prolactin, a hormone released during meditation and moments of deep tranquility. Participants described it as a peaceful, meditative, timeless state. This wasn't a gap in the middle of the night. This was a distinct state of consciousness in its own right. A state that most modern humans never enter once in their entire lives. Ultimately, we realized that for most of human history, the night wasn't lost time. On the contrary, it was the time when the deepest layers of being human were experienced. Stories around the fire created culture. The silence between two sleeps filled the mind. That meditative moment fueled by prolactin is perhaps the purest legacy our ancestors left us. But still, one question keeps haunting me. Is that midnight wakefulness really gone? Or is it still there, suppressed, waiting? Because so many people report it. They wake up in the middle of the night for no reason. Their minds are clear, the world is silent, and that moment feels strangely familiar. What if that feeling isn't a glitch? What if your body is trying to remind you of a 300,000-year-old program every single night? Tell me, will you ever be able to call that midnight wakefulness insomnia again? Thank you for joining me on this long and dark journey, my friends. I'll see you in the next video as we dive into another hidden layer of human nature. For now, stay with that ancient darkness.